Let's take a look at the dramatic pictures of the farmers' protest in Maharashtra. They are now just outside Mumbai and plan to gherao the assembly on Monday.
Thousands of farmers on the streets of Maharashtra, marching since Tuesday, stopping only to eat and rest at designated spots, often under the hot sun. Almost 25,000 farmers are on a 180-kilometer march from Nashik to Mumbai. They plan to gherao the Maharashtra Vidhan Sabha on Monday. As the hot sun tires them out, villagers along the way give them water so that they can carry on. Their main demand, a complete loan waiver and the implementation of the Swaminathan report, which will ensure farmers minimum support price for their produce. 65-year-old Tukaram Chaudhary grows bajra, maize and onions on his 3-acre plot in Nashik. He says he filled in the online form for the loan waiver scheme but has not received the benefits.
कर्ज 1.5 लाख आहे म्हणजे 70,000 गेले होते ना 1.5 लाख झाले.
ऑनलाइन फॉर्म कधी गेले?
आता 2-3 महिने झाले.
2-3 महिने झाले.
हो.
काय सांगितलं
बँकेने काही सांगितलं नाही.
These farmers are also demanding the transfer of forest land to those who have been tilling it for years. 45-year-old Narayan Gavit says he has been farming on the same land his ancestors did, but the land has not been transferred yet.
आमचा जमीन
क्या मतलब
प्लाट का है, अभी तक नाम पे नहीं है.
नाम पे नहीं?
हाँ, 57-58 से करते हैं. हमारे गुजर गए अभी. उसके पीछे हम भी अभी गुजरने वाले हैं, तो भी नाम पे नहीं हुआ.
While the Devendra Fadnavis government has implemented a conditional 34,000 crore loan waiver scheme, farmers are not satisfied.
इस राज्य में हमने कर्जा माफी की, बड़े पैमाने पर किसानों को उसमें से राहत मिली है और भी कुछ किसानों की समस्याएं हैं, तो उन समस्याओं को सुलझाने के लिए सरकार प्रयास कर रही है.
The Fadnavis government has grappled with several farmers' protests, whether it's over the loan waiver scheme or the procurement of tur dal. But this time around, with farmers and tribals threatening to reach the Vidhan Sabha while it is in session, the government will have to tread carefully because 2019 elections are near and it cannot afford to antagonize the rural constituency. In Thane district, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, joining us on the program tonight, we have Yogendra Yadav, who of course has been writing and focusing extensively on these issues. Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, member of the RSS, here in the studio with us, and Mohammad Khan of the Congress with us as well. Yogendra Yadav, how much of a headache is this actually proving to be, not just for the Maharashtra government, but at the centre as well? Because, you know, these farmer protests don't often make front page news, but it's very clear that there is a momentum that is building here, that the anger is building here. It may not make headlines, but this is a serious crisis.
Nidhi, as you said in your opening remarks, this is the biggest issue of India for this year, what is called rural distress, what we call agrarian distress. This is a crisis. It's a crisis of Indian agriculture. It's economic crisis, ecological crisis, existential crisis. What is so significant about the Maharashtra protest is not just the fact that so many farmers are marching. Please remember, there was a similar march organized a year ago by Shetkari Sangathan as well. So this is the second big march in 2 years of a similar proportions. What is also significant is that it is an attempt to combine the demands of landed farmers with that of landless farmers, which hasn't happened in farmers' politics for a very, very long time. This is what gives it the kind of strength. And what the farmers are demanding, and that's the real tragedy, farmers are simply demanding that the government should implement what it agreed last year. Last year, the government had an agreement with farmers' movement. Remember, there was big protest in Maharashtra last time. There were strikes by farmers, after which the government sat with Sukanu Samiti. There was an agreement, 34,000 crores of loans were waived, but they were not waived. It hasn't happened in reality, so they have to fight another battle just to get it implemented. And on prices, I think our viewers and everyone in the country should know that whatever MSP was guaranteed by Mr. Arun Jaitley in his budget, that is not being implemented. Two crops have already come in the market in Maharashtra. It is chana, it is masoor, a bit of sarson. These three crops are coming. And chana, which is big there, is selling for nearly 1,000 rupees per quintal below the minimum support
which is
price
exactly
announced
why
by
they're
Mr.
out on
Arun
the
Jaitley's
streets.
government.
Which is exactly
That's
why
what
they're out on
farmers
the
are
streets.
protesting against.
And so, Mr. Nigam,
Absolutely.
is this a failure of the government then? Would you concede that this is a failure of the government? You make big promises, the BJP makes big promises to farmers and isn't able to keep them. This is something that you realize could snowball.
The question should have been directed to BJP, but you call me
No, I'm asking,
you.
do you think,
So
what your opinion is? Yeah.
I am or RSS not the one responsible. Let me make it very clear that the MSPs which have been promised should be paid to them. First, and secondly, in this budget also 150% of the cost of production it has been promised and should be paid to them. 150% of the total cost, 50% over and above.
Yeah, over and
that-
above.
Over and above AP and FL.
Yes, yes. So therefore, this has to be implemented. If it is not being implemented, it is a matter of concern, first. Secondly, you cannot target one state. It's an all India problem.
I said that. It's not about just Maharashtra. You're
So
seeing this
let's
happening
not
across states.
bring politics into it. It's more like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. So there has to be, loan waiver is just a temporary phenomena. It cannot be a long-term solution. So you need to go deep into the problem and solve it once for all. Unless and until you create the agri infrastructure and develop agricultural industries, and also one has to
But
see
it
that
would help, wouldn't it, if the political class didn't make promises that it can't keep, like on the minimum support price, as the BJP did in its manifesto and now is not able to implement it, or even on the loan waivers.
See, I'm
Fadnavis
sure,
isn't able to keep his
they are
promises.
trying to implement it. Maybe some finances of here and there. By and large, see, every effort cutting across all political lines, they try to implement whatever they promise, even if it's Congress or BJP. Maybe there are some issues of finances. I'm
Then
not
don't
very
make-
sure.
Then they shouldn't make the promises.
No. See, they're trying to keep the promises. I'm not saying they are not. I'm not saying they are not. And instead of just looking at MSP, that is remunerative prices for farmers, you also need to look at the larger and deeper malaise that is that is there.
So let me ask Mohammad Khan that one of the things that the farmers are talking about is what the Swaminathan panel said. And if our
MSP
viewers
plus
want
50,
to
yeah.
know what that panel said, we just have a graphic that's coming up, and we're talking about, Mohammad Khan, the mid-2000s, right?
Yeah.
When your government was in power. So what did the Congress do about the Swaminathan panel report, which had talked about, for instance, implementing, just to tell our viewers in summary, to implement minimum support prices for other crops apart from paddy and wheat, for the MSP to be at least 50% more than the weighted average cost of production, which is exactly what was promised then, and other things. So what stopped you from implementing?
So Nidhi, while it's of course important to learn from what the Congress did or did not do, it is equally important to hold these people accountable who've been in power for 4 years, especially at the center and the state in some of these key states. I will begin by saying just a couple of things, just 2 points I want
But
to
you
raise.
guys are also in power in Karnataka.
Of course, but our record there, especially with the loan waivers, is first rate, as was our record in UPA 1 and 2.
But the
when
farmer
it comes to
suicide
farmers.
rates are pretty high in Karnataka.
There's
too.
been a 46% increase in farmer suicides since 2014 after these people took charge. That again points to a failing on the part of the policymakers here. But 2 things I want to tell you. Look, somebody very wisely said, there was a farmers leader who said, in India there is capitalism for the farmers, but there's socialism for the corporates, essentially. I would like to, your question today is essentially about the fact that extraordinary promises beget extraordinary expectations, which is true. These people promised MSP plus 50. What they delivered was not exactly what was asked for. It was a sleight of hand, as Mr. Yogendra Yadav has put it on previous occasions. There are 2 ways to calculate MSP. One is AP plus FL, which is a fraction of the actual cost, and one is the more comprehensive C2 methodology. That is what the Swaminathan committee promised. That is what they promised in the manifesto, and they said before the Supreme Court in an affidavit that they would not be able to deliver, which led to protests in Madhya Pradesh. The problem with these people is their record when it comes to treating farmers' rights over the last 4 years has been abysmal. It's the one constituency that they failed over all others.